In the serene town of Willow Creek, nestled amidst rolling hills and gentle streams, lived a man named David with his elderly mother, Eleanor. Eleanor had single-handedly raised David after his father passed away when he was just a boy. Their bond was deep, forged through years of struggles and sacrifices. Eleanor had always put David's needs before her own, working tirelessly to ensure he had a good education, warm meals, and a loving home. When David married Anna, a lively and spirited woman, he was hopeful that his two greatest loves, his mother and his wife, would find harmony under one roof. For a time, life was peaceful. Anna brought new energy to the home, and Eleanor enjoyed having a new companion to chat with. However, as months passed, the differences between the two women became apparent. Eleanor, accustomed to a traditional lifestyle, often offered unsolicited advice about the household, while Anna, independent and modern-minded, found these suggestions overbearing. One evening, after a particularly tense day, David came home exhausted from work. He dropped his bag by the door and sat at the dining table. "Anna, could you bring me some water and dinner, please?" he asked gently. Instead of responding, Anna burst into tears. Startled, David stood up, his heart sinking. "What's wrong?" he asked, approaching her. "She hates me," Anna cried, gesturing toward Eleanor, who sat silently in her chair. "She says I'm lazy and unfit to be part of this family. She doesn't respect me, and I can't live like this anymore." Eleanor looked up, her expression unreadable. "I only want what's best for my son," she said softly, though her words carried a hint of defensiveness. David sighed, feeling torn. "Anna," he said, "Mother is old and set in her ways. She doesn't mean to hurt you. Can't you try to see things from her perspective?" Anna shook her head vehemently. "No, David, I've tried, but I can't take it anymore. You have to choose. It's me or her. If she stays, I'm leaving." The ultimatum struck David like a thunderbolt. That night, as he lay awake, his mind raced. How could he choose? Eleanor had given up everything for him, yet Anna was the woman he had vowed to spend his life with. He was trapped between duty and love, unable to see a way forward. The next morning, as sunlight filtered through the curtains, Anna confronted David again. "Have you made your decision?" she asked, her voice firm. David, his face pale and drawn, nodded. "I'll take my mother to the hills today and leave her there," he said, his voice barely audible. Anna's eyes lit up with relief. "You've made the right choice," she said, smiling. "I'll have dinner ready for you when you get back." David approached Eleanor with a heavy heart. "Mother," he said, forcing a smile, "let's go for a walk to the hills. The fresh air will do you good." Eleanor, though frail, agreed. "It's been years since I visited the hills," she said with a soft smile. "Thank you for taking me, my son." As they began their journey, David carried Eleanor on his back, his heart aching with every step. The climb was steep and the rocks cut into his feet, but Eleanor's gentle words eased his burden. "You were such a curious child," she said, reminiscing. "Do you remember how you used to chase butterflies in these hills? You'd always bring me the prettiest ones and say they were my flowers." David's throat tightened. "I remember," he murmured, unable to meet her gaze. When they reached the top, Eleanor looked out over the valley, her eyes glistening with both joy and sorrow. "This place is as beautiful as I remember," she said. Then turning to David, she added, "I know why you brought me here, my son." David froze, his heart pounding. You know?" Eleanor nodded, her voice steady. "You mean to leave me here, but before you do, promise me one thing. Be careful when you push me. Hold on to that branch so you don't fall too." Her words shattered the dam of guilt and anguish in David's heart. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "You knew, and yet you're worried about my safety?" he choked out. Eleanor knelt beside him, placing a trembling hand on his shoulder. "A mother's love is unchanging, David. Even now, I only wish for your well-being." Overcome with emotion, David embraced Eleanor. "I've been so blind," he sobbed. You've loved me unconditionally, and I was ready to betray you for someone who doesn't understand that love. Forgive me, Mother." With renewed resolve, David carried Eleanor back down the hill. He felt lighter now, as though the weight of his guilt had been lifted by her endless love. That evening, David returned home and found Anna waiting expectantly. "It's done," she began, but David cut her off. "No, Anna," he said firmly. "I couldn't abandon my mother. Her love is selfless and pure, and I realize now that I can't live without her in my life. If you can't accept that, then I must ask you to leave." Anna stared at him, her expression shifting from shock to anger. "You're choosing her over me?" she demanded. "I'm choosing love that doesn't waver," David replied. "If you truly cared for me, you would understand why I made this choice." Anna packed her belongings and left that night, her footsteps echoing in the silent house. Though his heart ached at the loss of his wife, David felt a deep sense of peace, knowing he had done the right thing. In the days that followed, David and Eleanor grew closer than ever. They shared stories, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. Eleanor, despite her age, found renewed energy in her son's devotion. And David, free from the turmoil of divided loyalties, rediscovered the joy of caring for the woman who had given him everything. This story teaches us that true love is selfless and unwavering. Romantic relationships may falter, but the love of a parent remains steadfast, even in the face of betrayal. In a world filled with fleeting connections, the value of familial loyalty and unconditional love should never be underestimated. If you've ever experienced similar stories in your life, don't hesitate to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. We would love to hear your story.